and absolutely fully loaded with blooms and buds on this tree for it to be a 3-year-old tree. All right, so here's the lychee nut tree. A couple things I want to go over. Not a crazy large tree or anything, pretty small, I don't know, maybe 3.5 feet. But if you'll notice, this tree is only 2 years old. When I say 2 years, this is an air grafted tree. What that means is that we have grafted this off of another tree that is probably 10 or 15 years old. The benefit of it, though, if you look right here, is all these nice buds and blooms. We got them over here. So the benefit of the air grafting or air layering is that we're going to get a branch off of a tree that already has the genetics and all of the life that it needs to start producing fruit. So like I said, this tree has only been in the ground for 2 years. This is its 2nd year, and now we already have fruit being produced on it. So if we compare that to other trees that were planted from seed, bigger tree, looks good. This one's, I want to say 4 years old. And if you notice, there is no buds. It has not started trying to produce fruit because a tree has to get to a certain age before it basically matures enough that it wants to start producing fruit on its branches. These trees are planted 15, 20 feet apart, maybe 25 feet apart. There's nothing different except for the fact that this is a air grafted tree. So it already has, it's a genetic clone of the tree that it came off of, and it is already producing fruit. So if you want to bump up your fruit production, don't buy just a regular plant from a seed. Get an air grafted or graft one yourself from a mature plant. Okay, so we can definitely tell this is a very shady spot, hence no grass, nothing but leaves. All right, but I just want to look at the amount of buds and blooms off of this tree. Now this is a 3-year-old lychee nut tree. Again, this is off of an air graft or air layering. I'm not 100% sure of the correct terms. I'll try to look it up. Maybe I can leave it in the comments. But you can see the difference of a 3-year-old tree versus that last one that has air layering. And we have just a absolute ridiculous amount of buds and blooms off of this tree. So we should actually get a pretty good yield off of this tree, even though it is well within a canopy. Now it has great access to water, so let's not skip over that. But our water table is only about 3 to 4 foot anyway, so most of them get a good access to water after the first year or two. But there's just a ridiculous amount of blooms and buds on this tree for it to be a 3-year-old tree. So if you have a 3, 4, 5-year-old plant and you're not getting any blooms, it's because it's from a seed. Some trees take 7, 8 years before they ever think about being able to start producing. They don't have the maturity that you're gonna get off of an air grafted plant. And we'll go down, I'll really show what an air grafted plant, where all these came from. Here we have an older tree. This is, I think, a 7 or 8-year-old lychee nut. And you can see pretty large, blooms mostly all the way around. We do have to trim this one quite a bit every year just because it's so close to the power lines. But what I really want to look at is that Mac Daddy right behind it. Now this is a full-grown 20-year-old lychee nut tree that you can see is massive and absolutely fully loaded with blooms. Don't know if you're gonna be able to see it on the camera, but there are already some small lychee nuts forming. Absolutely massive tree. We can get up underneath this canopy. Kind of see, they don't really have just a tree structure, it's more of a bush, but it's so old. I mean, it's even got blooms internally on these small ones. So we're talking about a large tree. It's not, so it is not ideal to try to pick from this tree. It is definitely a job in itself, but we'll just kind of get an idea here. On the amount of blooms and just how thick they are. Hopefully here in maybe 2 months, we'll be making some lychee nut wine. Stay tuned.